Welcome from João Pessoa, the most eastern point of the Americas. This point of the continent is not just the most eastern point of South America, but also of both Americas together, Northern and Southern America. We were actually thinking that this would be the most easiest point to reach by car because it's very touristy.
Hey, sorry for interrupting. What you just saw was footage of me from last year. Now it's June 2024 and a lot has happened since then. I don't even know how to start explaining.
We had already visited the most western point of South America as well as the most northern point of South America. This is the third extreme point that we visited, and the next one, as you might guess, will be the most southern point, Ushuaia in Argentina.
Oof, so this is really weird seeing this. It makes me feel really uneasy because I didn't know back then what was gonna happen. But let me do a recap. With our dear Toyota Prado, we drove over 3 years and over 60,000 kilometers all over the continent in search for the perfect home. We stayed in over 300 hotels on 5 campgrounds, and we met so many interesting people and had a really interesting but challenging but also adventurous time. A great impact for our lives. We had experiences with people who lied, who let us down, who stood us up. We noticed we can't trust many people anymore and not really trust their words or promises that they give us. Unfortunately, I didn't get to post any of it because something came up. I want to show you some footage from last year.
The question now is, how are we gonna continue? So I've been thinking more and more recently that I do not really want to continue driving through the continent back and forth, left and right, east, west, north, but I think I need a break soon. And
another day, both of our phones and some of our electronics drowned in the water while we were walking on a coral structure somewhere in the northeast of Brazil.
And because we're gonna walk on this wall now, Alexandra put on her flip-flops. So this is what's that. Alexandra, ready. And Ali is standing here. I'm kind of worried I'm gonna get really wet. What do you think? What can you say about our beautiful adventure so far?
wow, what an achievement. People will be in awe.
I hear cynicism. So here we are, last shot of the day. The sun is going down, and yeah, now we're still on the what is it?
Rocks.
On the rocks, right here. More rocks.
Molly on the rocks.
Here, more rocks. Nice walk back. Let's hope it's not getting too dark because then I can't see it.
Still at least an hour to walk.
So we'll talk to you later.
See ya.
See you at the end of the rocks.
That slowed us down a lot because you just can't drive a car in an unknown country without GPS. So we had to put them in 2 bags of rice and just had them dry for a couple of days. And luckily my phone came back to life while Paul's unfortunately was dead.
Rough stuff.
The last half year of travel was really tough, and there was like one problem after the next that was happening, keeping us from really enjoying our lives or each other. Just everything was really miserable.
And it's quite understandable because there has not been any constant in our lives, really. Everything changes every day, and I'm really looking forward to settling down somewhere, at least for a few months for now, compared to like moving on every day. I think I could really benefit from this for my own life. All right, so we are here in João Pessoa, the most eastern point of the Americas. And we've actually been here for 2 weeks, I think, but it took us a whole 2 weeks to actually make it here to the beach, to be located on the most eastern point. The thing is that we had a major problem actually, with the car. Just a couple of hours up north in Maracajau, we were driving through the sand dunes to get to a nice beach. And what happened was that we saw a car that was stuck in the dunes and couldn't move anymore. And we had our towing rope and all, so we thought it would be no problem, right? Paul was connecting the cars, and the man with the Jeep was in the Jeep, and Paul was in the Toyota, and I was trying to push. And yeah, it turned out to be really, really difficult. I was pushing and pushing, and there was sand everywhere, like through my shorts, through my shirt, and my face. I couldn't see anymore. I just saw Paul in the Toyota digging himself further into the sand, and something was just not right?
Before you click away, pro tip in case you're a driver, make sure if you're towing someone that that driver has their handbrake disengaged. There you go.
And then I looked at the Jeep that I was pushing, and it turns out that the guy forgot to deactivate his handbrake. So his tire was not rotating, and Paul was just pulling him through the sand while kind of burying himself into the sand as well. So we stopped the whole thing. We told him to disengage his handbrake. And yeah, I guess you pulled him like one car length out of the sand, and somehow, I mean, he was out of the hole, but he wasn't really out of the dunes, but he said he doesn't want to continue. So it was a very frustrating situation for both parties. So yeah, he told us to move on, so we did. And yeah, very frustrating because we really wanted to help him get out of the dunes, and he didn't want to be helped, plus kind of sabotaging the whole stunt.
But one thing literally put us to a stop.
What was the problem?
Yeah, so it seemed like it damaged our transmission. Transmission essentially was completely screwed.
As far as I understood, transmission is like a really complicated part of the car. So we could not keep on driving. We actually got towed, like on a towing truck. First time for me that I was also in the car, in our car on the towing truck. It was like a really wild ride.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it was our fanciest taxi ride yet. This taxi even took our car on it.
Yeah, it was also really expensive. And it towed us to João Pessoa. And yeah, I want to spare us all the whole mechanic story, but it took 2 weeks to repair the car. And yesterday, finally, we could pick it up and drive it here. So now we made it to the most eastern point of South and North America with our car.
Big trip through cross country. I made it.
You did. You did.
We had a couple of really dear friends that we made along the way in the last 3 years. Some people we really respected and looked up to, that we admired. And during that time, they seemed to have a lot of problems. Their lives fell apart. It was really depressing to see. And a dear Brazilian friend who I respected a lot had a car accident and passed away. It was just all coming together. It was a terrible, terrible time. It seemed like this was all leading up to like a big bang. And eventually it did happen. We had a very tough time, and then we got a call and had to leave South America immediately. We heard that Paul's dad was in a coma, and we didn't really know how much time we would have left. So we parked the car somewhere safe and left for Europe immediately. That was our first time away from Latin America since 2020. So you can imagine, first time away, again in a known but new, different culture, right? Being back in Austria was strange and comfortable, both at the same time. I realized the things I had missed from home, and I realized the things I missed in South America, and it was a good realization, and it was very interesting and reflecting. And yeah, now that we're back in South America, we kind of want to use that knowledge and the experience that we made and find new priorities. I did record my priorities last year, and let's go see what I said back then.
So the idea now is something we call the Quarter Yearly Living Challenge. And it's gonna be a moving between 4 of our chosen cities, which are Asunción, Rio de Janeiro, Montevideo, and Buenos Aires, and spending a quarter year, 3 months, in each of those cities. That means we'll have a more permanent place where we can focus more on what we want to do in life and not just always be on the road. And this is something I could imagine myself doing now for like a year. And I think once this is over, maybe I'll have the motivation again to keep on driving and visit the last of the 4 extremities, the most southern point of the continent of South America, which would be Ushuaia in Argentina. So for now, we're gonna keep on driving down south to go back to Paraguay to start this new project that we call the Quarter Yearly Living Challenge.
So now in 2024, we still want to be a little bit more stationary. Not that we want to settle down permanently, but just not move anymore every other day because it's physically and mentally very exhausting. We do want to visit our dear friend Pitt in Canavieras in Bahia because actually he was one of the few constants we had in our lives. He kept being a friend and we kept being in touch, and that was really dear to our heart. I also started writing a travel memoir, collecting all the adventure stories that we had the last 3 years. It helps me reflect and understand all the things that happened and, happening for a reason and what they're good for, what their purpose could be for my life and my future. So that is something I want to focus on right now. And yeah, other than that, if I ever finish it, you'll find it on my social media. In the end, I just want to say it's good and I'm happy to be back, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bye.
Anything else?
Well, let's hope our car is gonna last until we make it to the southernmost point of South America.
Which I assume is gonna be a lot colder than here.